Why do people love The Sims? Could it have something to do with Duck Dynasty? Even if you somehow missed Will Wright's The Sims, the best-selling PC game of all time, it still needs little introduction. That's because you basically live it every day. You wake up, you go to work, you hit the gym, and then you find your virtual girlfriend in an embrace with Carlos from down the street. Mi amigo Carlos, ¿por qué? Then you find a glitch and end up in a suit made of your own skin.
Oh, wow.
So maybe your life isn't quite so dramatic. So why then is a game about the humdrum existence of everyday life so freaking popular? So there's a couple reasons just right off the bat. One reason is that you can be, well, you. You can make a sim that looks like you, acts like you, and accessorizes like you. As Will Wright once cynically said, no game designer can go wrong overestimating the narcissism of their players. And just like in life, your ambitions are lofty and goal-driven. Owning a lakeside mansion or hooking up with the perfect guy, girl, or centaur can be better motivation than high scores. Which is ironic, as the game's meant to be a critique of consumerist culture. But the similarities to your everyday life go even further than that. Sims 2 included life stages, which allowed your sim to age from a baby to your Uncle Eddie. And perhaps one of the strangest nods ever to philosopher David Hume, Sims 3 added moodlets. My current moodlet is Eureka. Also very hungry. Sims 4 will add even more complicated emotions, such as anger, vulnerability, and titillation. But lots of games have complex characters with a range of emotions, so why do people get so deeply drawn into this one? Well, I may have found a clue during one of my weekend Sims binges, in the form of Lena, a 20-year-old Finnish simmer who published this on her Tumblr, a dramatic reading. Darren goes every now and then to remember his wife and tell her how things are. Apart from still mourning her, his life is looking better. There's another clue in the form of My Darling 2, a 28-chapter soap opera about a family named Darling. It even has dialogue. The Sims don't speak English.
Bobby knew, Todd.
Okay, here's what's really weird. Although these people are in the driver's seat of the game, they talk about their Sims as if they have no control over them. And yes, the Sims do have some semblance of logic, but ultimately you're in control of their life goals. You know, like taking a shower. So here's what I'm thinking. Maybe The Sims is so incredibly popular because it's the ultimate reality television show, where you're both the director and the audience. All right, let me explain. This isn't a criticism. The things that we love about reality television aren't so different from the things that we love about The Sims.
Oh, my girlfriend happened to walk in. She's pissed.
Is there really that much difference between Candy's wedding planning on The Real Housewives of Atlanta and your average Sims dinner party? Not really. Both are crammed with over-the-top drama, which is why it's so much fun to watch. And what we get from The Sims and the Shahs of Sunset is a reality that's manufactured to generate a lot of conflict. It's like going on insane person safari. But here's the crazy part. The fact that it kind of is and kind of isn't real is exactly what we love about it. A 2005 study of TV audiences found that people who love reality television revel in its contradictory nature. They know it's not 100% real, but people enjoy the tension of figuring out how real or manufactured it actually is. Was that explosion at the shop generated by the director? Or is that spat between Courtney and Kim genuine?
No. All right.
Are the cast of Duck Dynasty actually that dumb in real life?
It don't take a physician to understand those physics.
In the case of Phil Robertson, yes. With The Sims, you're constantly engaged with the question, how much am I doing this versus how much is the computer running things? Is it my fault when Susan kisses Mike and Tony gets devastated? Or when Amy fails out of school and turns into a vampire? To fans, it seems like The Sims are actually living out their lives. You feel like you know them, the way that you know Evelyn from Basketball Wives, even though you don't really want to.
If you don't like me too bad,
because of this, it feeds our craving for what academics call confessional culture, which is just a fancy way of saying that we like to eavesdrop on the lives of others, as hashtag rooftop breakup proves. Research shows that reality television appeals to people's desire to observe real people, rather than actors. The Sims is so convincing that it kind of has the same effect. We can be a fly on the wall without ever really feeling guilty. And we can do this because Sims and reality TV never end.
Next time on The Real House.
Since they're not tied to some narrative goal about a starship that's the last hope for humanity, there's no need for it to stop. Even if you die of starvation while doing lunges at the gym, your Sims can still come back from the dead. Just like Vanilla Ice, who reality TV revived.
Word to your contractor. Sunday at 8.
Both reality TV and The Sims play with the idea of a media-constructed narrative. What we love about both of them are the blurry lines, the contradictory nature of something that feels kind of organic but also kind of designed. We like to set the wheels in motion and just see what happens. In the 60s, historian Daniel Boorstin worried that we were moving towards a world where fantasy would be more real than reality. He was right. But The Sims demonstrates that all people really want is a little bit of romance, betrayal, and backstabbing, and to not have to personally deal with any of the consequences. Also, to have to go to the bathroom. Perhaps this reality isn't quite so bad. What do you think? Why are The Sims so popular? Hash it out in the comments, and if you like what you saw, please subscribe, and I will see you next week. Oh, and before I forget, if you haven't ever read The Sims patch notes, you really should. It's the funniest thing ever. Seriously. We'll put a link in the description. So we didn't plan this, but Mike over at Idea Channel also did a video on reality television. In his case, he's looking at its relationship to surveillance. You should check it out. Last week, we asked why there hasn't been another Minecraft. Let's see what you had to say. To John Lambie and tons of the rest of you, this was by far the most popular comment. Yes, there have been lots of other clones of Minecraft. We mentioned that in the video. But what I'm trying to say is this larger question of why hasn't there been another Minecraft? I'm not talking literally. There have been games like Terraria, games like Fortress Craft, that pay direct homage to a game like Minecraft. But I'm speaking more metaphorically that if Minecraft is as revolutionary as we think it is to be, we would see these wider effects in the outside world, similar to other types of inventions. Also, it's worth noting on the whole clones thing, if you look at other mediums, you could see some good examples. So, for example, the film Bonnie and Clyde, which was released in the 60s, was a big inspiration for what was called the American New Wave. Sure, I'm sure there are other people who made other crime movies with a guy and a girl and they get in the car and they go shoot people. I'm sure other people cloned that movie exactly. But there are other movies that were inspired by Bonnie and Clyde that were part of that movement that didn't follow those rules exactly to a T. It was part of a broader movement. I think what we're asking here with Minecraft is why we're not seeing a large, not just clones, but sort of a larger movement towards these like procedurally generated worlds, outside of the ones that I had kind of already mentioned. There are two games that you all did point out, Rust and No Man's Sky, which I do think are emblematic of this post-Minecraft kind of existence. Maybe there'll be more games like this in the future. I sure hope so. To Captain Alliance and the others of you that point out that Minecraft is not in fact endless, there is an actual limit to the edge of the world. That's a really good point. I guess I could go back and say, yes, I was speaking like endless in a metaphorical sense, but I won't do that. That was a mistake, and thanks for pointing that out. I'm curious if anyone has actually seen the end of Minecraft. If you have, leave a note in the comments. Drawman1 astutely points out that part of the reason that we haven't seen a Minecraft 2 is that there are so many aspects of Minecraft that allow you to build things for yourself. New skins, mods, etc., etc. And certainly Minecraft's very generous terms of service, as I pointed out, allow people to create new things without the fear of, sort of lawyers stepping in and whatnot. So yes, no need for a Minecraft 2 if you can sort of make a Minecraft 2 for yourself. Guangdoan argues that everything in Minecraft has already been created, so there's no need for updates because people in the community have already created all the things that need to be created. This reminds me of a statement that the Postmaster General made around the turn of the century, where he argued that he wouldn't issue any new patents because everything that could be created had already been created. That's what's so exciting, right? That idea of the adjacent possible that I alluded to in the video, that there are these amazing things out there, they're just waiting to be built, like that 3D printer that someone built in Minecraft just a couple weeks ago. I mean, yes, that's what's so exciting, is that there are other creators waiting out there to make amazing things. I look forward to seeing what those are.